Hello everybody, good morning and welcome to the United Stand. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news and transfer news. It's exciting, it's match day, really excited about that. We're playing Leeds and we'll be live with a watch along, the first pre-season game, and we're ready to go. But we are here to talk about the latest transfer news. I've just realised I've got my fan on a little bit loud and I don't want that. Down to level 1, thank you very much. But I hope you're all doing well. Looking forward to this today, and yeah, very excited to see Cunha play, but also the rest of the team play. Did the preview on Thursday, and I think that we need to see something today. I don't want to see, there's nothing, we won't get anything from beating Leeds 2-0 but playing like we did last season. I'd rather draw 3-3 and play well. You know, I think results in pre-season don't massively matter. Performance does. Anyway, let's get into it. Paul Govier says, "Morning, Mark. Is it too early for champers?" It's never too early for champers. I need to actually have a glass of champers just to show you how much I hate it. Maybe we can do that on the 8 o'clock show. But let's get into the transfer news because there's a lot to get through today. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, by the way, bottom right-hand corner. If you are new, get involved. But we're going to be talking about Sesko. Amorim wants Sesko. We're also going to be talking about what's happening with Rasmus, what's happening with Onana, what's happening with Rashford. An interesting insight from the midfield from an article that dropped from James Ducker in the Telegraph this morning, which sort of links in with Bruno Fernandes as well. And excitement. We might get a little bit of time to talk about excitement because, as you may well have seen, Harry Amass is going out on loan, but Leon is going to stay. That just shows to me that the noises coming out of the training ground this week is that he's really impressed. It's not a bad thing for Amass. It really isn't. I don't really care if Kone, Obi, Amass go out on loan. If they get good loans, it's better to be playing first team football in the Championship or League One than it is to be not getting any game time for a year. So I think it's a good thing. And I think that, United guy says, I want Amass to stay. I think it's a good thing. But we'll talk about that in a bit. Let's start off talking about Benjamin Sesko. I watched the show last night with Terry. Fantastic. Allowed me to go out for a couple of drinks, which was lovely. But I watched it when I got in. And I think he made a lot of really good points. If you're going to pay £60 million for Nicholas Jackson, pay £70 million for Sesko. Absolutely. So what's going on? So basically, you know it, I know it. You can read about it. You can speak to people about it. United, when it comes to a striker, for some reason have left it late. We heard what Romano said yesterday. I did that video about United are already looking for a striker after signing Mbeumo. It's July the 19th. We should have sorted this a long time ago. And there's an interesting point, which if I have time, remind me to go back to the Mbeumo deal, because really interesting thing from that article from the Telegraph as well. But let's talk about Sesko, because that's progressive. We need a striker. So everywhere you read at the moment, anyone you speak to at the moment, United didn't get the striker that they wanted, whether you think that's Delap, Gyökeres, Osimhen, Ekitike, whatever. They've not got it. So Amorim wants Sesko at this point. That is who he wants. And everybody's writing about that. Everyone's talking about that. And the difficulties of that deal are that it's expensive. We have got Favel, who is very prominent in our recruitment and has very good connections with the RB group and RB Leipzig. So we've also scouted this player for so long, like possibly 4 years. I can't remember. Like, it's been going on for a very long time. So you've got Amorim who wants him. You've got good connections through Favel. He's also going to have a resale value, which is going to increasingly please people like Wilcox, Barada and Sir Jim. And he's a striker. And he's a player that we've looked at for a very long time. So he ticks a load of boxes, definitely. But the financials of this situation make it very, very difficult. So I wouldn't be under any illusions that this is the striker that Amorim would want. But we have to be realistic. Like, this is not the striker we wanted in April, May, June, or most of July. This is the striker we want today. And that's because Delap went, Gyökeres is going, Osimhen's unobtainable, and so is Ekitike. So this is where we land. We've landed on this target. I think this is the target we've got to push for, because one of my big criticisms was that Omar Barada said that we've been planning this transfer window for a long time, and it appears that it looks like we haven't. But if we go for Sesko, I would actually say, in fairness, we might have ended up in this situation unwillingly, but he would be a striker that I would say, well, to be fair, there is an element of planning there because of everything I've just said. Like, we've scouted him for a long time. We were looking at him last summer. Favel knows him. He is a young player that is going to have a lot of value in 3 or 4 years' time, and he is somebody that can come into the team and do a job straight away. So I think Sesko, and also it's the striker that Amorim wants now. So I think Sesko would represent, even though it's late, he would represent something where I would go, look, you've still got a lot to learn. You're overpaying on transfers, you're taking too long on negotiations, and you've left it very late in the window. But I would put my hands up and say there is an element of planning there, even though it's a little bit chaotic. He is still a target that makes sense, and we've probably looked at in the past. Someone like Calvert-Lewin, Nicholas Jackson, they represent desperation. They represent, you know, we weren't in May thinking about Nicholas Jackson. We're thinking about Nicholas Jackson now because he's available and Chelsea are looking to sell. That is chaotic. So Tango says you're not going to get Sesko. Well, look, let me wrap the Sesko story up. Makes a lot of sense. Amorim wants him, but you're probably correct. How do you fund a deal like that? How do you fund a deal like that? I mean, I don't know, and I don't think we'll ever know how close Arsenal went to going for Sesko, considering this was the striker that Arteta wanted last summer and in January. That can't be disputed by any Arsenal fan. Arteta wanted him. Why have they gone for Gyökeres? Probably because Arteta prefers Gyökeres and needs to win the title, so needs somebody who's ready and more experienced. But he's also cheaper. So that could have been a factor as well. Arsenal could not get Sesko's price down to that of Gyökeres. Whether they'd have gone for him anyway, they couldn't get it down. So that's a warning to United. This deal is very, very difficult. Now, we're also not going to have Sesko for the Arsenal game. We're not going to have him for the first 3 games of the season. He would be coming in after the international break, which means do you take it to the end of August and try and drive the price down a little bit by, you know, pushing that deal down? I don't know. But financially, I would put my hand up and say it's very, very difficult for Man United to do that deal. But this morning, that's the player Amorim would want. That's the player that United should be going for and makes the most sense. The reason Sesko makes the most sense to Manchester United is because he's the best striker on the market. And it's a bit of a depleted market, but he's still the best striker on the market. Arsenal spent a lot of time looking at him. Arsenal are a far better football club than us. They're far better run than us. They were looking at him. So you've got to look at that and go, if we want to be Chelsea, if we want to be Man City, here's a striker that Arsenal were going to go for and decided to go for Gyökeres. I think that is a big message comparable to going for somebody like Calvert-Lewin or Nicholas Jackson. Sesko was a player that, you know, Arsenal were looking to go for. Financially, I don't know how we do it, though. Financially, I do not know how we do it. But what I would say is, if you are on a journey this summer, whether it be down the east coast of America, across India, or you're just going from Manchester down to Cornwall, and you've got Rasmus Højlund and Xerxes in the car, and you're like, we're not going to make it, and you kick them out, and you put Nicholas Jackson in because you think he'll take you further, you're still not going to make it to your destination. I'll stand on that hill. You might not like Rasmus, might not rate Xerxes as a striker, but if you replace either of those players with Nicholas Jackson, you're still not getting to your destination. You might go a little bit further, but you're not getting where you want to go. You may as well kick them all out and put Sesko there because you will get there. And that's how Man United have to think. Yes, it might cost us a little bit more money now, but in the long run, it's going to save us a lot of money because I guarantee you Nicholas Jackson will be a flop in 2 years and then you've got to get rid of a player on a 5-year deal with a wage. You're just kicking the problem down the road. It's like buying that better armchair or better living room table or bed. You know, if you go for the cheaper option, it might do you okay for a couple of years, but if you go for the better option, it might do you well for 10 years. And I think that's how Man United needs. This is a very important position, and I think Sesko, Man United have got to do everything they can to do that. He's the best player available at the moment. And it might be expensive, but you've got to find a way to do it. And it might take till the end of the market. And I don't like that, but I would rather get Sesko on the 31st of August than Nicholas Jackson on the 1st. So let's see what happens. Tom McBride says, you will not get Sesko, he says. Why do people who don't support United watch this show? Obsession. I think they watch, Tom, because they don't get anything like it from their own club. And that's a compliment to us. A lot of people have said that to me. Yesterday, you said Mbeumo was worth his weight in gold. If he's 80 kilograms, then he is only worth around 6.4 million. Let's hope Man United haven't overpaid that much, says Martin. What happened to Ekitike? Too expensive, says Don. Well, Ekitike looks like he's going to Liverpool, doesn't he? I mean, I've got a video going up on That's Football in a little bit, but I wouldn't include him as an option for Man United at the moment. Jackson is better than Sesko, I promise, says Ryan. Yep, shut up, you're a Chelsea fan. Patrick Lynch says Amass and others going on loan, getting regular game time is good. It worked for Ahmad. We complain about developing young players. Regular football at senior level will definitely help. Yeah, 100%. I'm on board with that, Patrick. Do not want Jackson at all. He's a pile of crud, but if we cannot afford Sesko, realistically, what are our options, says Mike. Well, that's the point, Mike. We have to afford Sesko. I don't agree with spending the money on something that's going to be a problem for us in 2 years. I think if you can't get Sesko, wait till next summer. I mean, I genuinely think we've got enough to get by. And this is a big statement. I would keep Rasmus, Xerxes and Obi, and I'd go with those three over bringing Nicholas Jackson in. I would, or Calvert-Lewin. I just don't think the upgrade is enough. For the outlay, I don't think it justifies the upgrade. So if you can't, I'm amazed I'm saying this, but I'd rather not get a striker than go and get someone like Nicholas Jackson or Calvert-Lewin or, Jamie Vardy or someone like that. Now, if you've PT says, what about Mateta? Well, until Mateta is an option, it's speculation. Like Watkins is an option. He's been spoken about. Sesko is now being spoken about. Mateta just isn't at the moment. And I don't think... Look, let's talk about Rasmus for a moment. Like, there's a lot of rumours that he could still go. It's a bit weird because obviously he's in training, etc. But I think we'll learn a lot today. I really do. I saw Henry Winter talking about Mason Mount. Where does he fit in? Well, I don't know. Where does Mainu fit in? I don't know. If Xerxes starts today, it's pre-season, so it doesn't matter that much. But I'd be looking at Rasmus, whether he starts or whether he gets 45 minutes, and it's how you perform in that team. If we see much the same as at the end of last season, I don't think he'll be here at the end of August. But if we see improvement across pre-season, then you don't know. I think Man United will be assessing this striker situation in a dynamic way. And if Xerxes or Rasmus or both or an Obi play well in pre-season, and then Wilcox says it's Nicholas Jackson or nothing, I'd say nothing. Can we pivot towards a midfielder or a goalkeeper and look at the striker next summer? Obviously, if they say Sesko, I'm going to do it. We need to sell to buy, but Sesko is the best choice at the moment, says that United guy. Well, interestingly, on sell to buy, Matteo Moretto, who is an Italian journalist who works with Fabrizio Romano, he retweeted something this morning about Hansi Flick giving the green light to Marcus Rashford for Barcelona. So I don't know whether that means that Barcelona are going to actually start moving on this Rashford deal. I mean, there's an element of, what's the word? I mean, look, if we're completely honest, Barcelona are doing it anyway. Every Barcelona fan knows it. If Nico Williams had gone to Barcelona, which he nearly did, Rashford wouldn't be going. If they could get Luis Diaz, Rashford wouldn't be going. I mean, he is literally waiting, hoping that Barcelona don't get something better. And Barcelona are being very open about that. They want something better. If they can't get something better, they'll go for him. Now, whether that's going to go to the end of the market in August and he's going to go on loan, I don't know. But he is definitely, still locked in on Barcelona. Arsenal walked away from Sesko as he was seen as too expensive. Personally, I would have preferred Gyökeres, but them's the break, says Mike. Oh, I would have preferred Gyökeres over Sesko as well. I mean, I'm not saying Sesko... I want to be very clear here. I'm not saying go get Sesko because that's the striker I wanted. He wouldn't have been in my top four. But from where we are now, I'd say that or nothing. Good morning from Borneo. Great news we got in Burmo, says Tony. Good morning, pal. Hope you're doing very, very well. Nearly 17,000 watching. Make sure you subscribe. And remember, we've got the watch along. We're live at 1 o'clock, but the kickoff is 2 o'clock UK time. Do you think signing Sesko shows club intent? Well, let's do it first, Sof, but I think so. Neil's Reef Aquarium says, could there be a possible swap deal involving Anthony and Sesko with United paying an extra 40 million? Keep up the great work. I don't Neil, I don't think swap deals happen that much in football anyway. And I think with the advent of FFP and PSR, they're even more difficult. I mean, the last one we did was Mkhitaryan and Sanchez, and it was a bloody nightmare. You double the agents, you double the work. I don't think we'll see swap deals. I really don't. What about Ramos from PSG, says Sarath? Well, interestingly, keep an eye on Ramos going to AC Milan because they have been linked to him. But that was somewhere that Rasmus was maybe going. What happened to the striker that, was it Jimenez, that went from PSV in January to Milan? I thought he was going to do really well there. I don't know whether I don't know what's going on with him. Isn't Sesko another learner driver? Well, no, not really. I think that's a bit offensive. I don't think Sesko is a learner driver. I think he's a work in progress because of his age. But he's not a learner driver, because a learner driver would be Liam Delap, who's had 1 season in the Premier League with Ipswich. A learner driver would be, Rasmus, who's had 1 season in Serie A with Atalanta. Sesko, in fairness, has had 2, 3, maybe 4 seasons in the Champions League with Salzburg and Leipzig, scoring goals. So he'd be a work in progress in the sense of the Premier League, but I wouldn't say he's a learner driver, no. I mean, he's not as experienced as some of the people I would like us to go for. But look, as I said, this isn't the striker I would go for. It's the best one available now by a long way. A piece of merch with champers would be nice. Big up the channel and the community. Can't wait for today's game. I'm really excited, random guy, definitely. A dream come true getting to watch United live today, even though it's not at Old Trafford. Only missed a few watch-alongs since joining this channel in 2016, but this one, definitely worth it. Joachim, enjoy it. If you go into the game today, enjoy it. Don't know what to expect. Don't really care about the results. It's all about the performance for me. Really excited that a lot of players aren't kids and, in the sense that I don't want to watch a load of youngsters play for Man United who will not play for Man United next season, with all respect. I don't mind watching youngsters that are actually going to be part of this season. I also don't want to watch a load of Wham Matters. And you know what I mean by that. Players that are at the club that aren't good enough anymore, that are just taking up minutes. And that's the great thing about not having Garnacho, Rashford, Sancho, etc. How are we all doing? Jackson in, says Rub. Another Chelsea fan. Very quiet on Anthony at the moment, says Sean. Yeah, I really did think that one would have been done by now. Cunha, Sesko and Mbermo is an incredible upgrade, says Ryan. Hi, Mark. Rashford to Barcelona, what Nicholas Jackson is to us. Also, did you see Fab's post? Esteban is looking to go for about 20 million. That's not bad, says Caleb. I'm sure I saw Esteban being linked to somebody else yesterday that wasn't us. United's slow pace might be in our favour on the Sesko deal. The other teams have their striker. Sesko wouldn't accept being a bench option for Isak, says Marlow FC. And hi, Mark. Not sure if you know, but Xerxes has a minor injury and is not in the squad against Leeds. I didn't know that, Fletcher. Is that when did that come through? I didn't know that. I would sign. That's disappointing. I would sign Mateta. Look, I'm going to say something here, and I've said it a couple of times. And this comes from experience, but you might be 14 and figure this one out because you might do some research. Obi is massively exciting, like prolific in every age group he's played at in recent years. He's also physically imposing for his age. It is not beyond the realms of possibility that he has a breakout season this year. Is he 17 or is he 18 at the moment? I think he's 17. So, in fact, I'm pretty sure he's 17. I don't want to put that pressure on, but if there's one position where, Michael Owen's not bloody Tyson Fury, is he? Michael Owen's small. Michael Owen was playing up front for Liverpool at 17. Wayne Rooney was like a bloody man at 16, but he was playing for Everton as well. So you can break through at 17. Look at Yamal. You can do it. So I don't want to put that label on that he will, but it's not beyond the realms of possibility that in this pre-season he shows that he is actually ready. Now, it doesn't matter if he's not. He might not be ready for 2 years, and that's fine. But I don't think we should dismiss the fact that he might be an option. I don't want him starting every week, but maybe as the second striker, you just don't know. You just don't know. I would sign Mateta, says Dazzo. Xerxes isn't travelling, says Riley. I watched about 7 or 8 games for Sesko. He's like Rooney and Lewandowski put together. The guy's powerful. I want him. He's the best on the market at the moment, Tusher, and that's what we should be looking to do. Good morning, Mark. Sesko is maybe the best of the rest, but do you think he suits us and is good enough to be our main striker? I mean, I think this is the big question, Red Devil Germany. I don't know. He's a very different player to someone like a Gyökeres, definitely. Won't Sesko be more sought after and expensive next summer? And if we don't do well with the strikers we have, what makes us sure we'll get him next summer? Well, I didn't say we'd get him next summer, Trina. I'm just saying if it's Nicholas Jackson, I'd rather go for nothing. I'd rather put myself up front instead of Jackson, says PZ. I buy players. Next up, our striker is Veghorst, says Sir Jim. Jampers. What's worse, ownership or toxic fans, media and ex-players? Even if we finish 6th, toxic fans will get the manager sacked, says Aman. And with no other club seriously in the mix for Sesko, that could work in our favour, says Paul. Hopefully. And Mojo says, if you're good enough, you're old enough. And Manu FE says, hi Mark, would you mind giving my son Lucas a shout out? It's his first Man United live game. He's absolutely buzzing, especially to see Cunha play today. He's been excited for days. Well, that's great to hear. I hope you have a fantastic day, Lucas. I'm very excited. You know, look at, I'm 46. I still get excited about Manchester United, and it's that hope that, makes you get very frustrated when they don't deliver. United's anyway. Look, move on. I wanted to talk to you about the midfield situation. So a very interesting article came out with from James Ducker today about Manchester United and effectively talking about the midfield and how that would still be an area that Manchester United would be looking to, Amorim wants to, improve on. I'm just trying to find the section in the article here, which is very annoying because I had read it and I thought that's very good. Here we go. No, it's not here we go. Don't say here we go because that makes it sound like we've had a deal. Life unpalatable for outcasts. It's talking about that. Rashford brutally stripped. The Gang of Five are due at training this weekend when United play Leeds. Done that. Anthony wants to go to Betis. Blah, blah, blah. No, where is it? It's really annoying. I feel like I've made this up. Oh, here we go. With Cunha and Mbeumo on board, the expectation is Bruno will drop into one of the two deeper midfield roles, but Amorim feels he is still short in that area of the pitch. United would have loved to have added a player like Ederson, but Atalanta made it clear months ago that the Brazilian defensive midfielder was not for sale and not to waste their time trying. Since United have got no European football next season, the manager intends to run with a smaller squad, which could mean more younger players being loaned out. So, look, I think, again, like we spoke about this a couple of months ago, when it comes to the midfield, it's going to be very interesting to watch the game today and see how the midfield works, because I think people run off Bruno too much. I don't think he picks the runners up. I don't think he's physically great. Stats will show you that he wins a lot of defensive duels, but he's not a midfielder for me. And I think Amorim knows that. But I don't understand the logic of what we're going to do with Bruno, so I'm very looking forward to seeing. I mean, look, Bruno's our best player. Bruno's our captain. He's Amorim's most important player, but I'm really interested to see what he does with Bruno. I mean, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that we do see Bruno Fernandes playing as a number 10 today. But I am increasingly convinced that we're not going to buy a midfielder, even though I think it is a position that Amorim would like to change. Goalkeeper situation, I mean, it's a big issue, isn't it? I think that's what it says on the thumbnail, and I think it's got an honour on it. I think it's a big issue. Who's going to play in goal today? Who's going to play in goal on the tour? I think the goalkeeper for Manchester United, I don't know how many of you watched the preview, but the preview, I had the team on the screen there, and I looked at it and I went, okay, there are holes here. You need to bring in Mbeumo in. You need a striker. We need some of these players to step up. But I looked at the goalkeeper and I was like, that one for me is the one. That area terrifies me because it's so important. It's authority, it's consistency, it's confidence, and we haven't got it. We haven't got that. So. And I think we're going to see that in pre-season. If it's Binder in goal, he's had his chance. If it's Heaton, he can't be the goalkeeper. If it's one of these kids, I don't think we'll use them. So I think that with the goalkeeper, I'm really hoping we do something. And if it is Lemens, or it was ter Stegen, or whatever, or it was Martinez, great. but it's got to be the right choice. If we're going to go for a younger goalkeeper to challenge Onana, great. If we're going to go for an experienced goalkeeper to kick Onana out, great. But don't do nothing. Don't do something submissive. Don't go, we'll be okay with what we've got, because I think that we will find out very quickly that that's not good enough. We can't go into this season with the same goalkeeping setup as last year. We've got to bring somebody in that is going to challenge Onana. And if Onana starts as the number one goalkeeper, fine, because I think as long as the understudy is able to get a chance, I think they'll prove themselves to be better. So yeah, I still think that's a massively important position. What do you think about the deal for Mbeumo is what a lot of people have been talking about. Now, we don't know the wages. There's all sorts of lies about what happened with that. But I think that when you look at the deal, I'm very, very happy about it. I think it was... I mean, it's interesting what James Ducker actually said in the Telegraph. I'll read you this. He said, in hindsight, maybe Man United should have gone for Mbeumo first, because by going for Cunha, who they had a clear run at, they basically paid 62.5 million and put that marker in the sand. Similar age, Mbeumo, similar positions, so Brentford can straight away go, well, we want 62 or 65 or whatever. It also goes on to say that Man United's opening offer of 45 million with another 10 in add-ons, if anything, succeeded in irritating Brentford, who then dug in their heels. So others will look at how United have ended up paying what Brentford pretty much wanted anyway, and ponder the logic behind the process. On the upside, the 65 million guaranteed to Brentford will be paid over 4 instalments, just as Cunha's has been. So all that helps on the balance sheet. Look, I don't actually think we will spend any time dissecting that Mbeumo deal, because we have to move on. Honestly, without being bitter or angry, we're just not very good at transfers. And if I was Sir Jim Radcliffe, I would be looking at that and going, that whole Mbeumo saga was a bit of an embarrassment, really. We take 7 weeks, we put in 2 stupid offers that wasted time and irritated Brentford, whilst everybody else was buying players for the value that they wanted. And then at the end of it, we have to panic and give them 65 million because they're going to sell Wizard to Newcastle. So the whole thing was a big waste of time, and it was embarrassing. Fortunately, it's not Anthony at the end of it, it's Mbeumo at the end of it. And although some rival fans have tried to jump in and take the piss, like someone last night was, an Arsenal fan was saying, it makes Madueke look like a bargain now. No, it doesn't. Madueke at £52 million is not a bargain. If you're paying 62 for Cunha and you're paying 65 for Mbeumo, Madueke at 52 does not look like a bargain at all to me. I mean, I still don't understand that deal. But I think people are talking about it like that because although we might have paid good prices for Cunha and Mbeumo, and although rivals will hope that they flop so they can go look at United making mistakes again, ultimately I think everybody knows Mbeumo and Cunha are good players. So whether we've messed this deal up over taking too long, he's still got a very good player at the end of it. We just have to try and salvage this transfer window, and I'm still looking at goalkeeper and striker, which is what we were looking back at in March. They're the two now. I'm not thinking about Esteban. I'm not thinking about Richard Rios. I'm not thinking about selling bloody Casemiro or Luke Shaw or Mason Mount. None of that's going to happen. Like, whether it should happen or not, none of that's going to happen. It's about removing Sancho, Garnacho, Rashford, Malacia and Anthony and bringing in a striker and a goalkeeper in the 6 weeks we've got left. And that's it. And anything else will be a bonus. And doing that, we're doing it too late. But we can digest and assess that over the coming days and weeks. But effectively, if we're being completely real, we need a goalkeeper and a striker before the end of the transfer window, which is 2 deals, and we need to get rid of those 5 players. And it won't be enough. There's a lot more that was needed in, and there was a lot more that was needed out. But from this position, there's no point whining about shoulda, woulda, coulda. We've just got to get those things over the line. And it doesn't make it a good transfer window. But we've got to get that done. We've got to get a goalkeeper and a striker and those 5 players out in the next 6 weeks. And that's it. That's it. Season starts in 4 weeks, says Vlad. Yeah, 4 weeks tomorrow for us. 2 weeks is our final. So we've got Leeds today. Then a week today, we've got our first USA game. The following Thursday, the second game. The following Sunday, the third game. And then the following Saturday, Fiorentina. And then the following Sunday, Arsenal. So games every weekend now. We're back, really. You know, it's exciting, isn't it? We're back in the sense that, all right, these are pre-season games, but weekends with Man United are back. And I love it. It's exciting. I mean, God, how long it's exciting for, I don't know. I mean, Cunha and Mbeumo are good, but they ain't bloody Harry Potter and Ron Weasley. They're Cunha and Mbeumo. They're not going to be magic, but yeah, I mean, at least we've got a bit of something, you know. Fumlen, welcome to the Members Club. Is Rashford staying? I went for a few drinks last night actually, and I actually just reminded me of one of my dreams. We were playing Fulham away, second game of the season. And he brought Rashford on and he scored a late winner. And then Amorim ran over to Rashford and then they had a big hug. I can't see it. Any dodgy streams for the game, says Tom. Well, don't go on YouTube for Man United. Don't go on Man United's YouTube, because what they'll do is, and we saw this in the Asia games, they'll play the first 30 seconds and you'll think you are going to get to watch it. And then they'll go to MUTV. So don't fall for that trap, Tom. I can't wait for the Leeds game in a few hours. Any predictions on this year's pre-season Pirlo? My guess is Mount. Luke Shaw, Kyle could be another one. I think Mount's a good shout. Pre-season Pirlo. Well, look. This is why I'm excited, because Bruno in the midfield, I want to take a good look at that again. Mason Mount, Mainu, how do they fit into this team? Morning, Mark and Legends, says Tom Grant. Is Vlahovic in the same boat as Jackson? With Gyökeres out the picture, we need to go in for Sesko. Without goings, it could happen. There'll be lots of finger pointing with performances today. You know what, Tom? You make a really good point. It will be very much back. You know, I'm looking forward to the watch along. I'm going to stand up. This desk's not been up for a while. There'll be a match reaction. I'm not going to go as far as player ratings because people only play 45 minutes and it's pre-season. But I'll do a match reaction, of course, and we'll do all that. But what I will say is there are Amorim outers who've been hiding in full view. They just haven't said it for 3 months or 2 months. They will be back. The criticism will be back. It will start today. So just be ready for that. You know, this is where it starts again. If we lose or we draw any of these pre-season games, there'll be call-ins on talk shit. So that is still there. Don't let that be a shock to some of you. We've been talking about it all summer. Those people are still there. Those media outlets are still there. Those ex-players are still there. They will jump on it. They just haven't been able to jump on it. So, yeah. Mark Ladios says they won't say Amorim out because they'll be blocked. He's joking. We don't do that as moderators. We don't run a dictatorship, Ladios. Stop winding them up. You can be Amorim out, but I don't think it's fair. You know. Can you say I wish Nigel and Becky congratulations on their wedding? And Mbeumo, yes, Amorim is the man. Come on, United, says United Dad. Well, congratulations to Nigel and Becky on your wedding. Let's hope it lasts. And I don't say that with any negativity, by the way, but there is a high percentage of divorce nationally and worldwide. But I'm sure that won't happen with Nigel and Becky. And congratulations to you. And it's great to see a lot of positivity out there. Football point of view, it's a no-brainer to buy back MG11. Yeah, we're not going to do that, Stedge. Thoughts, Mark? Yulmlen and Martinez for similar price. One's a goalkeeper and one's a midfielder. So that's my thoughts on it. On a scale of 1 to 10, how excited are you for this season? Well, I am excited because football for me starts and ends with Manchester United. But obviously, I like the Champions League. We're not in it. I do, that's football. Man United aren't in it, you know. So I have my football solace in other areas if United don't deliver. But obviously, first and foremost, I want to believe that Man United can have a good season. I don't know. Let me talk to you about this Amass loan very, very quickly, because some people aren't really grasping it, I don't think. I think this is a real positive for Amass to go on loan. You've got Dorgu, Leon and Amass. They're all really young left-backs. There's no point keeping three of them. One of them's got to go on loan. It's not going to be Dorgu. Leon's obviously come in and done very, very well. So Amass goes on loan. It doesn't mean that we're going to sell him. It probably just means that Amorim feels that Leon and Dorgu are the two that he's going to go with for the first team, and that Amass would be better suited going out on loan. I think this is a good idea. Would you rather have Amass training with the first team all season, getting no minutes, or would you rather have him playing first team football, hopefully for a championship club, maybe a League One club, all season? I think it's an absolutely great idea, and it might happen with Kone. It could happen with Obi. I don't know. I don't have a problem with this. Patrick Lynch was on about it. Chelsea did it for years. Man City have done it for years. If you can get them good loan deals, it's a good idea. Now, there's been talk of Kone going to the Belgian league. I personally think the best league for these players to go to is the Championship. It's intense, it's English, and it's one tier below the Premier League. But if it's a good loan, I think it's a good idea. And you get more out of those than you will from training with the first team, definitely. So I think it's a good idea, without a shadow of a doubt. I'm sure if we go Jackson, they will bid that on Sesko. Oh, maybe Chelsea, yeah. Kev Ashton says, we're very weak in the goalkeeper position. What's your thoughts on Ramsdale as an addition? I reckon he'd be fairly cheap and, in my opinion, a definite upgrade on Onana. He's a borderline one, Ramsdale, for me, Kev. He's an upgrade, but how much of an upgrade? It's a little bit like what I was saying about Nicholas Jackson and Sesko. Just because somebody's an upgrade doesn't mean it's the right deal. They might take you further along the road, but will they take you to where you want to go? And I think Ramsdale is an upgrade on Onana, but you've got to... I don't know what Man United's aspirations are, but I presume it is we would like to win a league title again. We would like to be in the Champions League again. And I think that if that's the end game, or that's the journey, you need to buy players that are going to take you there. I don't think Ramsdale takes you there. I think he takes you higher up the league, but I don't think he takes you to titles and stuff like that. If he's all that's available, it's a different conversation, but I think there are better available. Keeper-wise, I really like the look of the Belgian lad at Antwerp. I think he's already at a good level, and I genuinely think he'll become a top-class goalkeeper, says Ian Tracy. I think that's Lemens, isn't it? He's the Belgian one. Yeah, look, let's hope there's something in it, because I remember talking about this halfway through last season, and that was certainly the stance I preferred, bringing in a young goalkeeper who has some experience with the potential to be world-class in the next couple of years, who can challenge and push Onana out. I quite like that idea. It will be cheaper and it will be longer term. So I agree with you on that one. Who is your striker and who do you think we end up with, says Shabas? With what's available at the moment, I would go for Sesko. But as Ronan says, they want 85 million. Can't see United paying that. No, I think it's a big, big problem. But I don't want Nicholas Jackson, and I don't want Calvert-Lewin, and I don't want Jamie Vardy. I think they're horrific signings, and it would ruin what has been two good... Look, whether we've taken too long on these deals, whether we've paid too much on these deals, people can debate that, but you can't debate that Cunha and Mbeumo are really positive signings. Let's not ruin it by doing some shit striker deal. Leipzig, we've done that. Marlowe says, what about homegrown, Mark? Getting rid of Sancho, Rashford and Garnacho, isn't that something we must factor in, says Marlowe. Garnacho's homegrown as well. But we have, I think you can have 17 non-homegrown players, and I guarantee you we're probably okay. Yeah, I'd say we're probably going to be okay. I've got the feeling that Yoro might be classed as homegrown, you know. But well, he's homegrown under 21 anyway. But I don't think homegrown's a massive problem for us, really. I don't know. I'd have to look into that. We've not been selling and buying enough, Marlowe, for me to figure that one out. That's the problem. Nick P says, if Mbeumo and Cunha still look good after 3 games, then I might start to take interest. 3 games is the incubation period before infection sets in from the others being total shit. Fair point. It's my birthday and I have started drinking early. Cheers, says Tusha. Happy birthday, mate. Hope you have a great one. Trishan says, I'm not Ruben out, but I'm also not going to say he did anything worth my praise yet. This season he needs to prove he can make at least top 8 for me, says Trishan. Look, I completely agree. You know, I haven't forgotten that Europa League final. I've always backed Amorim, and I still back Amorim, and I still think he can be a good manager, but I can't excuse that Europa League final. It was tactically terrible. He didn't adjust, and let's be honest, Spurs were shit. So he did a lot of damage with that Spurs game, and there are people gunning for him. We've got to see things in pre-season. Pre-season can't be a PR tour. It can't be a selling shirts tour. We've got to see stuff in pre-season. We've got to see stuff from the training ground, because if we don't, I can watch Man United today, next week, and the week after, and I'll be able to tell you what's going to happen next season. Because if we don't see good football, we're not going to see it in the season. We won't. Like I've seen people like Liverpool play pre-season, and you can see it. Arsenal, you can see it. We've got to play good football. We need to start. We need to move the ball around well. We need to have a system that works, and that's why I'm looking forward to pre-season. I'm not writing pre-season off as it's just fitness. No, this is we all know it, and we've all been told it. Pre-season, he's not had a pre-season. Well, this is pre-season. The whole point of he's not had a pre-season is that he's getting one now, and these are pre-season games, and you need to see improvement. This is a huge pre-season for Man United, so I'm very excited about it. Trina says, hello from LA again. I always stay up to watch the show. What's the history with the United and Leeds rivalry? It's not a rivalry that's ever really bothered me, Trina. And if you speak to Tony from Webby and O'Neill's channel, he would know more about it than me, because that's when he was a bit younger going to games. I think it predominantly comes from the 70s when Leeds were a decent team. Don Revie, etc. And I think Leeds were one of the best teams in England, and Man United, late 60s, were sort of around there, although we fell off in the early 70s. And I think that's where the rivalry sort of comes from. There's a locality, War of the Roses, etc. But it's not a rivalry that I have experienced really in my lifetime. Even when they won the league in the early 90s, there is a huge rivalry in Leeds hate United, but I think for us of a certain age and certainly younger fans, it's not really a rivalry for us. It's Arsenal, it's certainly Liverpool, Man City, even Chelsea, but Leeds hasn't been a rival. But God, they love it. Yeah. It's my son Harvey's birthday. Please wish him a happy birthday. Hoping to see some good football, says Jim. Happy birthday to Harvey. Hope you have a great day. And if we end up with Sesko, Emi and midfielder after signing Cunha and removing Deadwood, would your opinion on Ineos and Jim change, says Notorious? Let's do it first, mate, because that's not going to happen. I'm not going to speak positively about Glazers and Ineos on a speculative story that won't happen. We won't get Sesko, Martinez and a midfielder, so I'm not even going to lay it down there that would be a good window, because it won't happen. They still only bought Mbeumo and Cunha and sold nobody. There's a lot that needs to be done before we assess this transfer window. Ruben needed 3 seasons to be given chance of success with this squad, but after this window I'd say 5. On striker, if Rasmus stays, I think he might shock people, says Sam. I'd love that to happen. It's in the air, isn't it? Let's see what happens, especially if Xerxes not there today. Rasmus will play. Thanks everyone. Take care. I think the watch along live chat's open, so if you are, staying around or anything like that, get yourself over there. I'll see you at 1 o'clock. Take care. Thanks for watching.